Good morning. Thank you for joining us this morning for the all-in-one geothermal system. And this is brought to you by GeoComfort Geothermal Systems. And today I have Mr. Brian Erlob actually with me this morning. Brian has been with Enertech about 16 years, so thank you for your service, Brian, in a sales capacity as well as management, and now heading up our commercial sales department. So it's great to have you today, Brian, and it's an exciting opportunity to be unveiling or launching this all-in-one variable speed water-to-water system. So thank you all for joining us today, whether you're from the building trades or you're an architect, engineer, dealer, distributor, consumer, just interested in our product. We thank you for taking time to join us. What I would ask is feel free to put your questions down, type them in, and then we will take questions at the end, and we'll have a nice little session with Brian if you have anything specific. So with that, Brian, I'm going to turn it over to you, and please share about this exciting new opportunity.
All right, thanks a lot, Tim. I appreciate that. Just a couple things about geothermal systems in general and home energy use, et cetera. We have a few facts here. The first one is, number one, obviously, the average U.S. family spends about $2,000 per year on home utilities. So we're talking about energy efficiency, we're talking about renewable energy, and in a home, that's the second largest expense to every homeowner, with exception of taxes. So if you look at wanting to save money, your home heating, cooling, and hot water costs are a big portion of that. And with this new all-in-one variable speed product, we can really offer tremendous savings on those costs. The other thing that we have a fact here about natural gas. Natural gas is used to heat approximately 48% of the homes across the country, and electricity is used to heat about 38% of the homes. Obviously, geothermal heat pump systems are an electric-driven device, so we would fall under that category. And we don't burn any fossil fuels or anything like that, so we're using electricity to drive the system and then, of course, bring that free and renewable energy to and from the ground. Another interesting fact is that smaller homes are in demand. The average size of the U.S. household is shrinking, and that really plays along well with geothermal because our systems are so efficient. The smaller the home, the smaller the system needs, the more cost-effective it can be for those homes. So that really goes hand in hand, and that's exciting to see, as well as the energy efficiency of the home itself. They're getting better and better over the years. Okay, so geothermal, is there a better choice? Of course, we don't think so. And really, the EPA says that as well. The EPA says the most efficient, environmentally friendly heating and cooling system available. And again, it's the only renewable heating and cooling system that's out there. So again, we're saving energy. With this system, we're about 300 to 500% more efficient than conventional furnaces. Like I mentioned, we're not burning a fossil fuel. So anything that burns a fossil fuel cannot achieve more than 100%, because when you burn something, there's always something left over in the form of a flue gas that goes out the chimney or out the flue. With an electric-driven heat pump, we can achieve more than 100%, because even though we're using electricity, we're using that and multiplying those kilowatts by moving energy instead of creating energy. So we're putting that ground loop in the earth, and we're taking that energy and we're transferring it and moving it from the ground into the home by using the heat pump technology. And so that's how we can get higher than 100%. And as you see here, 300 to 500%. And with this new all-in-one variable speed product, we'll show you that we can actually achieve up to 600% plus efficiency with this product. COP and efficiency are a direct correlation. So we'll show you that here in just a bit. The other nice thing about electricity and electric-driven devices, they're a lot more stable. We all know that fossil fuels fluctuate, very volatile. They go up and down, if not daily, monthly, weekly. Electric prices across the country are very stable. They don't fluctuate as high and as low as gas. So that's a nice thing about electric-driven device, utilizing that, obviously, that more stable electricity. And again, the savings. So we talked about efficiency of the product. That correlates into savings. And so if we look at heating, we're saving about 30 to 60%. And on cooling, we're saving about 25 to 50%. And why is there a range there? Well, that's because it depends on what you're comparing it to and what the costs of your energy options are in your neighborhood, in your region. So across the country, gas prices and electric prices are all different. So really, that's why there's a range. But you can see that's a substantial savings. So back to the $2,000 a year, if we add the 60% in heating and 50% in cooling, we're saving well over a total of 50% of that $2,000 by going with a geothermal system to do heating, cooling, and hot water. And the other nice thing about geothermal systems really is overlooked, I think, is the longer lifespan, especially the ground loop. The ground loop that you install is there for the life of the building. It's a one-time investment. It's basically pre-purchasing your energy up front by installing that system. So you no longer have to worry about cost fluctuations due to gas and oil. You buy it one time, you put it in the ground, and it's there for the life of the building. And that's 60 to 70% of the energy your home will need for the life of that building. So there is no better way to buy energy than to put a ground loop in. And again, that's going to be there for the life of the building. So very long lifespan. And the heat pump itself, again, is going to also last much longer than a traditional or conventional heating and cooling system because it's indoors, because of the temperatures that it sees and the way that it operates, and a lot less moving parts. It's just going to last longer. And it's very quiet. This new all-in-one variable speed system is the quietest I've ever heard on the market. It's, as we say in our literature, it's ridiculously quiet. So, obviously we have a compressor inside the dwelling, but we want to make sure that you don't even know it's there. And so it's really quiet system, takes up very little space, and obviously very visually appealing setup comparative to a conventional system. So again, it's a new kind of geothermal. This is a variable speed water to water, okay, and it really is a Swiss Army knife of heating and cooling. This compact unit does it all. It's the only system on the market that can do radiant in-floor heating, radiant cooling, forced air heating and cooling, whether that's a ducted or a ductless system. And then the real kicker is we do 100% of all the domestic hot water year-round, replacing a standard domestic hot water heating system. So it's not a de-superheater. It's not a byproduct of it running and heating or cooling. This is developing or providing 100% of the domestic hot water. And again, this is the only product in the market in the geothermal industry that does this. We can also do some other things if you happen to have a pool or some snow melt. Anything that we can do with either hot water or chilled water, this system will do it. And it's very unique. It's very innovative. There is really nothing else in the market like this. The other nice thing about it is really compact. If you look at the size of the unit itself, you're looking at roughly a 2 foot by 2 foot footprint and then about 3 foot tall. So it's very compact for everything that it does. And the fact that we've eliminated a lot more components in the system because of this technology, we can make the mechanical rooms much smaller. And we all know what it costs to build a home and cost per square foot. So if we can create more living space by having a smaller mechanical room, that really does help out the homeowner. And you can see there that we're at about 32 square foot footprint in the mechanical space or less, depending on what you're doing. Now this shows with the hot water option. So that's the domestic hot water tank that you're seeing there. For those of you on the webinar here that might think that's a buffer tank, it is not. So that's your domestic water heating system. So again, when we're talking about with this, sorry about that. This variable speed system is actually more efficient than your traditional or standard geothermal heat pump. So now I'm comparing this to other geothermal systems. What we found with our test sites over the last year and a half of operating and watching this new technologies, we're saving an additional 30% or more with this product, and primarily because it adjusts based on the demand and the conditions that the home is under, versus turning on and off just to satisfy a certain temperature in the space. It's going to run and it's going to adjust its speed and its capacity based on the outdoor temperature and what the needs are inside the dwelling. So that increases the efficiency even more. And not only that, it increases the comfort level. So with radiant floor heat, which is already an extremely comfortable system, now we're providing an even more comfortable setup because we're adjusting that water temperature, and we're doing that based on the needs of the dwelling, and of course based on outdoor temperatures. In real world applications, we've seen COPs of 6 or better with this product. And again, it's because we can slow the compressor down, we can bring the water temperatures down, whereas a traditional water-to-water system is running full speed and it's running at its hottest temperature all the time. This system doesn't do it that way. It does it the complete opposite. It slows down, it reduces the temperature, which just increases the efficiency. And most of the year, that's where you're going to be running, in those higher COP ranges. Only the worst or the coldest days of the year are you going to be running those high speeds and high temperatures. We can also do forced air. And the great thing about this product is we can have multiple zones within the home. So now we can condition the areas where you're living, and the other zones where you're not, you can turn down or set back. And it can do all of that through a ducted system. Obviously for cooling, we're doing a ducted system. We can also do ductless, but we can have multiple zones on the forced air, multiple zones on the radiant floor, and do the domestic hot water all in this compact, all-in-one variable speed system. So it's very, very flexible and what we can design into the home. How else does this help you? Well, there's more. The other thing that we've seen a big trend in the United States is the net zero homes. And this is the product if you want to go net zero. Really with the soft start technology, with the variable speed compressor, the low energy to get it started and get it moving, and the low energy it uses as it's operating, we can achieve net zero very easily. We can use less solar panels to make this all happen, so we can actually save money on our solar panel system. Okay, and again, we don't need a large system to get it started because it starts very slow and then ramps up and down based on the temperatures and what the needs are. And again, with net zero, we cannot achieve net zero with a fossil fuel system. Once you burn that fossil fuel, it's gone, it's done. So the only way to achieve net zero is through an electric-driven device, and the best there is a heat pump. And of course, the best heat pump is a geothermal heat pump versus an air source because of the temperatures and the free energy we're pulling from the earth. And now with this new all-in-one variable speed, we can do the hot water, the heating. We've got the built-in soft start. So it's a tremendous product to incorporate that net zero if you really want to go that direction. And again, everything in the system will be variable speed. So the compressor itself is inverter-driven variable speed. The pumps that circulate the fluid through the loop field and through the home, through the radiant floor, are all variable speed ECM technology. And if you have a ducted system, the fan motor to deliver that warm air or cold air through the home from that geothermal system is also an ECM variable speed fan. So everything in the system is variable speed, and it all works together to provide the most comfort and the most energy efficient system available. All right, let's talk about a few of these test sites. The first one is a test site in Brighton, Utah. Now this home happens to be up at about 9,000 foot of elevation. It's a heating only home because at 9,000 feet they don't need cooling. The home is roughly 4,000 square feet. And the great thing about this home is the mechanical space is actually under the stairs. So there's very little space, less than 32 square feet. Now this home was a geothermal home prior to putting in this new all-in-one system. What it had in there prior was a 5-ton, single-speed, fixed capacity, typical water-to-water geothermal heat pump to do all the radiant floor heating. There's radiant floor throughout. And then it also had another 2-ton geothermal water-to-water to do the domestic side. And it also had a buffer tank off of the 5-ton. It had 2 more water tanks on the domestic side. So you had a large volume there for the capacity needed for this home. We replaced both of those, total of 7 tons of water-to-water equipment with the one variable speed 5-ton. We got rid of the 3 tanks, and we now have just the one domestic hot water tank off of the variable speed unit. So again, we reduced the size or the needs of the mechanical space. We've also increased the efficiency. The homeowner used to keep the home when they weren't there at roughly 55 degrees. Now they keep it at 65 degrees, and their energy costs went down by about 30%. And also, the hot water demand is fantastic. They've raved about how much hot water they have available now, and they don't have any additional storage needed. So the unit really provides hot water on demand as needed. So that's a really nice benefit. And again, it's the only system on the market that is able to do that. This is a vertical loop up here in the mountains, and we've got 6 zones total. Again, so very flexible. It also heats the garage, so that's part of that 4,000 square feet. And so what we found with this product versus the old system is, again, we're about 30% more efficient. This whole home heats through the whole winter for less than $900 per year. So fantastic energy savings, and the comfort level is much better now with this new variable speed system. Okay, the second one here is in Mountain, Minnesota. Again, this is a northern climate. We've got a home that's about 3,000 square feet. The mechanical space, again, very small, about less than 32 square feet. And the previous system was a geothermal system again. So it was a 5-ton single speed. But this particular home used natural gas to heat the domestic hot water. So what we replaced is we got rid of the 5-ton single speed, put in the 5-ton variable speed, the new all-in-one system, WV, and then we put in the indirect tank, and we're heating the domestic now off of the geothermal. Okay, this home again is all radiant heated. There is some forced air heating for the shoulder seasons, and we're also doing forced air cooling. It is a vertical loop field, and we have a total of 7 radiant zones and 2 forced air zones, and now doing the domestic hot water. And again, this home is an ICF home, so very well insulated, but the comfort level is increased. The energy costs have gone down. And again, the homeowner absolutely loves the new all-in-one system and what it's providing in efficiency and comfort versus the old system. And the last test site we'll talk about is in Stanton, Illinois. Now, this is about a 3,500 square foot home. This was a new construction or a new build, so we didn't have an existing system to compare it to. However, they've owned homes in the past, so they kind of understand how these systems work and what they feel like. And again, we've got another really thrilled homeowner, not only with the energy costs, but the comfort level. They can't believe how much more comfortable this home is with this new all-in-one system. The floor temperatures are more even. You don't have the swings throughout the day when the sun comes out because the system adapts to the conditions. And they've actually done a little bit of radiant cooling within this home, which they think is fantastic. And so this is a really great test site, and again, the energy costs for this home are really low as well, so they've been thrilled with that. But we've got a radiant heating system throughout. Forced air heating is the shoulder seasons again, and also for cooling. It does have a gas backup system. We've got a horizontal bored loop field, so we drilled directionally or horizontally, roughly 20 feet in the ground. There's about 7 heating zones, 3 cooling zones, and the domestic hot water. And also the garage on this home as well. So another great testimony of how well this product works, how flexible it is, and of course how energy efficient it is. And with that, we'll take some questions. I think we've got a couple already coming in. So Tim, take it away.
All right, Brian, thank you for sharing. Love to see those testimonial homes and how versatile this product really is. So let's get to the questions that have come in, and thank you for the questions. Please also feel free to send them, and we'll try to answer those for you while we're on this webinar. But Brian, the first one, is this capable of replacing an existing boiler for a hot water heating system?
Thanks, Tim. That's a great question. Yeah, this new technology that we've developed and are bringing to the market is not only a variable speed water-to-water, but it's also a high-temperature water-to-water. Traditional older style water-to-water systems struggled to get up to 120-degree water temperatures to do the baseboard heating or radiator-type heating systems that you find in some older homes. With this product, because we can reach up to 140 degrees water temperature, we can do a lot more of those homes and be able to provide those homes with geothermal heating and cooling now, whereas before we weren't able to do that. So that's another great innovation with this product.
Excellent, Brian. And this is on the heels of that same question, but what is the maximum temperature for the domestic hot water, and is it capable of producing Alder hot water?
Yeah, that's another great question. That is really one of the significant innovative pieces to this new all-in-one system. There isn't a geothermal heat pump on the market that can do 100% domestic hot water, and this system can do that. So not only can do 100%, it'll reach temperatures of 135 degrees. So yes, that is not a problem. Most people keep their water heaters somewhere around 120 to 125. So we can do all that, but not only can it do that, it does it very efficiently at COPs of 2.5 to 3, but it can provide as much hot water as you can really use within a typical home. So it heats water very, very well and can do all the water throughout the year. It doesn't matter the time of year. It's not a de-superheater, so it isn't, doing it only when it's heating or cooling. It can turn on to heat the water whenever it's needed and provide demand, whether you've got family there for Christmas or you're just there by yourself. It'll provide all the hot water that's needed.
It's nice to know, Brian, there's a system that will allow for those special events throughout the year and ramp up and handle that. Very new to this industry. Another question, Brian, and can I have a hybrid radiant system with forced air on 1 WV? Can you explain hybrid first?
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, hybrid can mean a lot of things, but what we're talking about here is we've got two different heating distribution systems. So we've got a hybrid of radiant floor, maybe that's in certain zones or certain areas of the home, and then we've got forced air heating in other areas where we don't have radiant floor. So maybe radiant in the basement, forced air in the upper levels. So that would be a typical hybrid radiant forced air heating system. And the great thing about this product, the fact that we're heating water, we can send that water in different temperature of water to those different distribution systems almost within minutes of each other. So we can provide perfect comfort throughout the home, and because we can do this all in one, yes, we can provide both forced air, radiant floor, and the domestic hot water all within minutes of when the call comes in. So it's a fantastic product, very unique, very flexible. We can do a lot of things with this machine.
Excellent, Brian. And with this innovation, I think an obvious question, but also came through to us today, is what about price? If people are already used to putting in a water-to-water system, what's the incremental difference, or how would you best describe how they'd look at this product now?
Yeah, that's a great question. Obviously, that's one of the big questions. Well, anytime you increase innovation, efficiencies, technologies, there's a cost to that. It's like, you go from a Chevy to a Cadillac, right? But so the heat pump itself, yes, does cost more money. But the great thing about this particular product versus other technologies we've seen in the industry where it adds cost, this all-in-one variable speed system reduces the overall system installation cost. And that's primarily because we were able to get rid of a lot of components that are not necessary with this product anymore. For instance, like the buffer tank, which then comes along with additional pumps, additional piping, additional labor. So when you take out those components, even though we've got a more expensive heat pump itself, we've reduced the overall installation cost. And that's the great thing about this. We've also, when you incorporate the hot water side, in the past, we would have 2 tanks for a preheat tank. Now we're down to 1 tank. So when you look at the overall system costs, yeah, very, very competitive. We've reduced it compared to a traditional water-to-water. So that's a great question, but we're really excited about that because generally with innovation, it adds costs. We are able to add innovation and technology and reduce costs.
Excellent. And Brian, I think just maybe a comment as well is, with the way that our industry is right now taxed on finding good help or a labor shortage, this certainly sounds like it eliminates a lot of complexity and redundancy, bringing it back to possibly just 2 components.
Yeah, and again, at Intertech, we always look at those things and try to develop products that are installation friendly. This product is about as easy as it gets as far as installation. There's very, very little outside components to it, and that's the really nice feature of this as well. That's why it doesn't take up a lot of mechanical space, because we've basically put everything in the box, and you put the box in and you hook up a few pipes and away it goes. So it's a fantastic product when it comes to that.
Very good. And Brian, we also have Kyle Smith, our inside sales manager, with us and helping us field some questions. Kyle, what else has come in?
Well, we have one in regards to the domestic hot water heating feature, and in regards to the previous technology of geothermal heat pumps that did domestic hot water heating 100%, how do we plan to achieve this with R410A?
Yeah, that's a good question. Obviously, we have a very technical person on the webinar. That's great. So in the past, if you used a specific water-to-water unit to do the domestic side, first of all, that water-to-water had to have a double-walled heat exchanger to meet code requirements, because you couldn't have potable water and refrigerant come in contact, without a double-walled heat exchanger. But those heat pumps, if you look at the efficiencies that maintain 130 degrees, just number one, they weren't very good. They're not variable speed. They were a fixed capacity, usually around a 1.5 to a 2 ton capacity, and they were independent of the heating and cooling system. This particular product uses an indirect water heater, so we have a double wall isolation from the refrigerant to the potable water. Okay, similar, I guess, to what a boiler would have if you're doing an indirect tank, or a tank that's taking the boiler water to the domestic water. So we're doing the same thing with this system. So the heating water that we're using to heat the space is also going to that indirect tank and heating the domestic through another heat exchanger. But because we have a 5-ton system and it's variable capacity, we can heat that tank much quicker than a smaller 2-ton independent system. Number two, because of the technology with the variable speed and the braze plates that we utilize, we can achieve that 135 degrees very reliably and very efficiently, whereas that old or the other style system isn't going to get there, because they're using different heat exchanger technology, so the efficiencies aren't as good, and because it's not variable speed and ramping up and down, obviously we've got a lot of advantages with this particular system over that other way to do it. And then, of course, the desuperheater is the typical way most people use geothermal to heat domestic hot water. But that's not 100%. That's only a byproduct of heating or cooling the space. So with this system, we're actually doing 100% on demand when it needs it, heating the domestic hot water.
Well, okay, so we have another two-part question here from Colorado. Can the system do the domestic hot water heating and heating at the same time?
Yeah, that's a good question. No, it does not. There's actually a valve inside the machine, inside the heat pump. So typically your domestic hot water would be the priority. And as that call comes into the heat pump, it switches the valve and it sends the hot water then from the heat pump to that indirect tank. And it'll heat that domestic water. And it usually, because of the size of the tank, even as the larger tanks at 100 gallons, it really only takes 5 to 10 minutes to heat that tank, as we're ramping up to 5 tons of capacity. We get it up to temperature, and then the call goes away and we can switch back with that valve, and the unit does this all on the fly. It does not shut off. Even to go to cooling back to hot water, it does this all on the fly, and then it'll reverse that valve and then start sending the right temperature water to whatever heating or cooling zone that is still calling for conditioning. So it does not do it simultaneous, but it does it really fast.
All right, so the second part of that is what would be the COP while we're doing domestic hot water heating?
That's another great question. Well, COP is directly related to, number one, what's your loop temperature coming in, and then what's the temperature of the load water going to the domestic tank. So if, for instance, we were, let's say in Minnesota, and we had a 30-degree loop and we're at 130 degrees on the domestic, your COP is going to be around 2.2, but that's still 220% efficient over a gas system that's 80 or 90 or 95% efficient. So we're saving over 50% in energy, okay? Whereas now if you get a little further south, or it's maybe in the spring or the fall or the summer, and your loop field is 50 degrees or 60 degrees, now my COP is well over 3, maybe even 4, okay, to provide that same 130 degrees, because that temperature coming into the heat pump is so much warmer. Now I've got a very, very efficient system that can provide that. And of course my capacity goes up with my loop temperature. So again, I can provide that hot water very fast and very efficient.
Awesome. And the last question, when can we get our hands on it?
That's a great question. That's today. Today is the official launch of this product, so that's why the webinar series are happening today. If you happen to go to geocomfort.com today, all the literature and all the information of this product will be uploaded on the website, should be happening any minute. And obviously Intertech is ready for orders. We've been taking pre-orders. We've got systems that are going out the door, and so today is the official launch. So we are ready and able to provide the product, so just give us a call.
Last question, sorry, I apologize. How about other sizes? I've actually had this question a number of times myself, but the range, though, of this particular product is so great. What's our plan there?
Yeah, that's a great question. Actually, this product does meet any size that you would generally have in a typical home. So the fact that it goes down to 2 ton and anywhere in between up to 5 ton, we can use this if you have a 4-ton load, a 3.5 ton load, a 5-ton load on your home, a heating load. Okay, we can size this system and use this system for any of those. Okay, now we are actually coming out with a smaller heat pump size in the future. I think it's a 3-ton or 3.5 ton, but right now this is the product. It's, like I said, 2 to 5 ton. It'll handle anything in between, so it doesn't have to be a 5-ton capacity need to use this product. You can use it in anything smaller than that, and it'll just match whatever the requirements are for that space. We would still size the loop and the system just as you would for the home, and then this heat pump would match that, and it would never have to go any higher than that. So it's really a multiple size product all in one.
In addition to that, what would the size ranges be? So it goes up to 3.5 ton, but in that particular product, but what are we going to go down to?
Yeah, it'll ramp down to 2 ton, or actually a little less than 2 ton, around 1.5 tons to 2 tons, and then all the way up to, it's actually a little over a 5-ton heat pump. So anywhere from 1.5 tons to 5, and then the other product that's going to be available will be a 3-ton down to maybe a ton or a little less than a ton. So that would be a smaller unit for a smaller home, and but again, this heat pump with the domestic hot water option will be the right size for most homes that are out there, and what your needs are.
Or net zero home. Actually,
net zero,
had some
absolutely.
questions on that for that type of house yesterday. So, anyways, I think that'll take care of us for questions.
Okay, great questions.
Very good. Well, thank you, everybody, for taking time to join us today on this GeoComfort all-in-one water-to-water inverter drive series system. We're excited to bring this to you today. We hope that this has piqued your interest, and if it has, feel free to call us at 618-664-9010 and work with our inside sales team, and we'll be more than happy to address any question or any design assistance that you should need. We'll also be uploading a recording of this webinar to our GeoComfort page up on the YouTube. So feel free to check that out, coming also later today. Thank you again for your time and your talents out there in the industry, and we're very excited to bring this product to you today. Thanks again, Brian.